All these principles that are given to us in the infinite way are principles which are only provable, demonstrable, in the degree of our taking hold of them and working with them until we attain the consciousness of them. So that there is no use sitting back and waiting for God or looking for God to do something. Ye shall know the truth. And while you're knowing the truth and putting it into practice, you're at the same time realizing that it's because there is a God, an invisible, spiritual, infinite, eternal substance, that all of creation is infinite, eternal, and immortal, and indestructible. You don't expect God to do anything more. God has already turned rotten trunks, tree trunks, into coal and into oil. God has already made something else turn into iron and plutonium and uranium and whatnot. We have to learn how to utilize it. See that? God's work is done. Our work is never done. Although the day comes when these principles are so completely demonstrated in us that our life becomes one of relaxing, and the ultimate is Paul's statement. I live, yet not I. It's Christ that's living through me. Or Saroyan, who said, God lives my life and I go along for the ride. Think of it. God lives my life, but I go along for the ride. And so it is. Jesus says, the Father worketh, but I work hitherto. I just follow along. I do those things that I see the Father do. Actually, I'm beholding God working through me. That's a principle, but it's not a demonstrable one, except in proportion as you, through your activity, bring it into expression. Now, there's nothing namby-pamby about it. You can't be soft with this. You can't ignore error. No. That is why, over and over and over again, you will hear how narrow I am. Joel has a one-track mind. Joel is narrow. He doesn't approve of you reading other things. All right, I'm guilty. I do believe that way. I believe anybody should read anything and everything they want until they find the principle. Now tell me, what good is it to read anything and everything after that? Especially those things that conflict with it. When you find what a principle is, you've got to live with it. Leave mother, brother, sister, father for my sake. Leave all your books and all your teachings if you find a principle and sit down and work with it. I wouldn't care if our students picked only one principle out of my writings and threw all the rest of the writings in the ocean. If they'd sit down with that one principle until they demonstrated it. Let it be that there is no power in matter. Let it be that there is neither good nor evil in form. Anything. I'd be perfectly satisfied. They throw all the books away. Because they can't demonstrate the book, they can only demonstrate one principle at a time. Usually, though, in demonstrating one principle, you demonstrate them all. Because you'll find that there are not many principles, there's really only one. Now, until you can prove that matter is indestructible, it merely changes forms. It was never created. There's never been a form of matter. If there is oil in the ground, it was one time a stump of a tree. And if it was one time the stump of a tree, it must have been something else before that. before it could become the stump of the tree. Matter is indestructible. Matter is eternal. Matter is immortal because matter is mind. You can't destroy a mind. You can't get your fingers on it. See that? Now, when you imbue the mind with truth, mind imbued with truth results in harmony. Mind accepting the world's illusions demonstrates discord. Choose ye this day whom you will serve, truth or world beliefs. But choose, then be consistent. You can't be shilly-shally. You can't work one day with what's the mental cause of disease, and the next day there is no mental cause of disease, because God is the only cause. You can't work one day with God give me this, and the next day petitionary prayer is an error. You can't work one day with God's grace is my sufficiency, and the next day is I can create anything I want with my mind. You have to choose this day what is your principle. Now, are you mind? Sure, in the same way that you are spirit. Then that which you are governs all that which concerns you. And you don't have to direct your good. You have to know the truth. And it directs your good. And if you know the truth about one power, one substance, one law, one cause, one activity, that's what appears. You don't have to go out then and say, I need an automobile, or I need a house, or I need a job. No, all you have to do is sit right at home and be quiet, and the realization that my own shall flow to me. Why? Because it's inside of me already. So all I have to do is open out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. So if I want to be employed, all I got to do is go out and employ myself. Doing good somewhere, doing service somewhere, then I'm employed. Yes, but I'm not on a payroll. Who says you have to be on a payroll? Maybe you'll inherit it. Maybe you'll find gold in the backyard or oil. I don't know anything about that. I only know that if you're to be employed, you have to employ yourself. I only know that if you're to be loved, you have to love. I only know that if you want a friend, you have to be a friend. Because to sit here and wait for it to come from out there, it can't. Because you are the infinity. So if it can't come out of you, it can't come out of anywhere else. All right? Now, let God be God. But you keep knowing the truth about God and about God's universe and God's activity and God's substance, and then you'll see that you're in tune with the infinite. That it is really truth that's living itself through you. Christ liveth my life. Therefore, you must start your day with what we will call protective work. And I hear many, many already shouting at me, as they do from the absolute, oh, but error isn't real, so there's nothing to protect yourself from. I think I know that better than you do. But that doesn't permit me to stop my protective work. Why? There's no evil, but there's the belief in the power of good and evil. And by inertia, I let it operate in me unless I consciously reject it. And because this world keeps on manufacturing good and evil every day, I have to consciously reject it every day. And so I can't afford to let a day go by without the conscious realization that I, in the midst of me, is mighty, and that there is nothing outside of me that can enter that defileth or maketh a lie. See that? So it is. I have to have periods of the day when I'm working for the infinite way activity. working for those who are conducting its work, working for those who are publishing its work, working how, in what way, I don't know. When I sit down some way, it comes to me what should be done or what should be handled, because what is it that's keeping everybody in the world from reading the infinite way? What is it? Power of inertia? Ignorance? Would you say it isn't a power? It isn't a power. It seems to be operating as a power to keep an awful lot of people from reading it that could be benefiting by it. What power is keeping these books out of bookstores? Some power is. But by my continuous work, that power is being broken down. So one by one, those books will get into the bookshop. And the power of the world's opposition to truth and the world's ignorance of truth is being broken down. So we get the art of meditation in the bookshops, into the churches, into the universities. Of its own accord, perish the thought that that book picked itself up and got into Harper's and out into this recognition and that recognition. All those beliefs of powers had to be broken down to make the pathway for that book. And the next one that succeeds it. And the one after that. Did they try hard enough to keep the art of meditation out of Harper? It was a fight from beginning to end before that was finally accepted. And then it would have been accepted all watered down. We hadn't kept up the fight, right? Before that, we had a fight with living the infinite way. Now we have to fight with practicing the present. Now, let us understand this. There are principles of truth which constitute the message of the infinite way. And these are demonstrable only in proportion as you consciously know them and work with them each day. Consciously work with them. Consciously know these truths and apply them to the specific problems of existence that come up either in our own lives, our family, our community, our patients, our students. Then, as we consciously work with these specific principles and apply them day by day by day, they become embodied within us. They become flesh of our flesh, blood of our blood, bone of our bone, and in the end we don't have to consciously know them. They keep uttering themselves to us as these circumstances come up. It is as if we first planted the seed, then when the tree grew it fed us. But in the beginning, we plant the seed, we fertilize, we water, but then in the end it feeds us. So it is. In the beginning, you read these truths in the writings, or hear them in the recordings, or classes. Then you begin to work with them. You set aside specific periods every day. You work with them for your own benefit. You work with them for the benefit of your family and your community. You work for them for the benefit of the world at large. You work with them for the benefit of your patients and of your students. But you consciously work and apply them. Consciously, you must realize every day that germs, infection, contagion are not power, because all power is in the invisible I, not in the form or effect. Consciously, every day you work to realize the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and Son, all that I have is thine, and so forth and so on, until you are demonstrating the powerlessness of germs to have effect as disease, and you are demonstrating the powerlessness of lack or limitation to operate in your consciousness or the consciousness of those who come to you. So you work with He performeth that which is given me to do, until you realize that there is something, whether you call it a He or a presence or a spirit, within me that goes before me to make the crooked places straight. That helps me to perform every work given me to do until you're actually demonstrating that for yourself and your students. So one by one you work with these principles, and you work to know that since all power is given to me, there's no power in the outer realm, whether you call it the mind of dictators or whether you call it atomic bombs. There is no power outside of me. I and the Father are one, and all the Father hath is mine, and that means God-given power, dominion is within me, and none of these things shall move me, none of these things shall come nigh my dwelling place, none of these evils or beliefs or powers shall in any wise disturb the harmony of my life or the life of any of those who dwell in the secret place of the Most High, who consciously abide in this letter of truth until it becomes the very spirit or consciousness of truth. Now, unless you're working daily for hours along this line, you're just indulging vain hopes and daydreams. Come out and be separate means come out and go to work. Choose ye this day whom you will serve. The activity of truth in your consciousness or a lot of mental laziness. And then you'll find as you apply these specific problems, you become a law unto your own life. Ultimately you say, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. But by specific truth. The truth which I am and know myself to be. And there's no other way to come into harmony except through consciously knowing the truth. Now, to use truth for selfish purposes, as if to benefit yourself as against the rest of the world, is stupidity, because of the law of as ye sow, so shall ye reap. All of your truth-knowing must be for the universal good. Otherwise, even though you may temporarily profit by a selfish use, ultimately that has within itself the seeds of destruction. And in the end, the condition will be worse than it was in the beginning. Therefore, with all our getting, let us get understanding. Now let us want nothing beyond that, so that our flow of good comes from our realization of the truth. If the Spirit of God dwell in you, then you become the sons of God. Then are you the sons of God. If so be the Spirit of God dwells in you. If you abide in my word, and let the word abide in you. If you dwell in the secret place of the Most High, none of the evils of this world will come nigh thy dwelling place. Now, this must make it very clear that when the spiritual contact has been made and is maintained, that the Spirit of God is the bread of life, the staff of life, the wine, the water, the substance, the activity, and the law of our being and of our body. And discords are never apparent, because they do not come nigh our dwelling place, our consciousness. On the other hand, the very fact that we have physical, mental, moral, or financial difficulties must be accepted as evidence that either the Spirit of God is not dwelling in us, or that we have not made or maintained our inner spiritual contact, and that there is something operating in our experience other than God. It is on this point that we are not sufficiently honest with ourselves. We do not face the issue squarely and acknowledge that as long as there is discord in my experience, just so long is hypnotism operating in my experience. And I am not completely free of it. And in the same way, when anyone, regardless of who it may be, approaches us with a problem, it must be instantly apparent to us that hypnotism is still operating in their affairs, in their consciousness, in their being, in their body. When we face the issue squarely like that, we know what it is we have to deal with. It's not person, it's not place, it's not condition, it's never what it appears to be. But it is the universal mesmerism or hypnotism, and it is operating in our affairs, and it must be broken. Now, it is for this reason that we not only have the letter of truth, but that we are under the compulsion of using specifically the letter of truth until through it or by it we rise above the mesmerism or destroy the mesmerism and are out again into the clear sunlight. Now, we know that the body is given to us as an instrument for our use, and we know that when we're spiritually endowed, the body responds to spiritual impulses, and it is normal, healthy, harmonious, vigorous, vital, alive, alert, and you can tell that in our movements. If the body is sluggish, painful, diseased, certainly there's something operating beside spiritual harmony. And we know what it is. It makes no difference that it might be a hereditary condition, or it might be one of climate or weather, or nutrition. We know that the real name for any of these discords is mesmerism. Now, it is for this reason that in our meditation that we learned here in this work, that there is somebody called I, or me, or Joel, or any other name, appellation you wish to give to my individual identity, and we know that that I am has been endowed with spiritual power. Dominion it's called. God has given us dominion over everything on the earth, every creeping thing, every standing thing, flying thing, swimming thing. And certainly then, God has given us dominion over this body. And we've learned that we can assert that dominion in this meditation by looking this body up and down, inside and out, and bidding it to be free, bidding it to relax, to respond to God-given dominion, until we actually feel its freedom.